Fighting games have been a major genre in video games for decades now. There's nothing quite like the thrill of going one-on-one with another person and fighting till the end. No loadouts, no kill streak rewards, no teammates getting your back, just you and your opponent fighting it out until someone's life bar reaches zero. Crossovers have also become a major part of pop culture. Companies have been collaborating to bring their characters together for ages, but with the rise of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, crossovers are more popular than ever. It's quite common now to see a character show up in another universe such as Aloy in Genshin Impact or basically every character ever in Fortnite. While I do think it's possible to overdo the crossover, there's one brand that I think could totally knock it out of the park. That brand is PlayStation. This is why I believe now is the time for PlayStation to give an all-star fighting game another chance. The year is 2012 and hype for the PlayStation 3 is at an all-time high. Major exclusives coming out many times a year, the PlayStation Plus Instant Game Collection is catching steam, huge games like The Last of Us on the horizon, and it seemed like Sony could do no wrong. With all these major characters all under one roof, there was only one logical thing to do with them all. Insert PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, a platform fighter similar to Nintendo's Super Smash Bros. That had many PlayStation and third-party characters duking it out until one reigned supreme. This video isn't entirely a history lesson on that game, so I'll spare you all the details, but even though the game was pretty successful selling over 1 million copies, it didn't exactly become Sony's answer to Smash Bros. During the same time, fighting games were seeing somewhat of a resurgence themselves. Street Fighter IV was still seeing great success all around the FGC, Mortal Kombat returned to 2D with their reboot, and Marvel vs. Capcom 3 was sitting on many people's lists as the greatest fighting game of all time. Fast forward almost a decade and fighting games, along with the PlayStation brand, may be even more popular than ever. 2021 has seen the release of Guilty Gear Strive, and that game has established Guilty Gear as a major name amongst fighting game fans. It's always had a place in the hearts of the FGC faithful, but with over 500,000 copies sold in its first month, Guilty Gear can now be placed in the second tier of popular fighting games, just underneath mainstream behemoths like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. At EVO 2021, the North American Strive Grand Finals had over 50,000 viewers on Twitch alone, and the number of entrants were more than Street Fighter V and Tekken 7 combined. Don't forget about EVO, as I'll be talking more about that later on in the video. Besides Guilty Gear Strive doing so well, there are also a plethora of new fighting games coming too. Melty Blood launches in just a few weeks, King of Fighters 15 comes out earlier next year, and it's been ages since we last saw a new Street Fighter or Tekken. One would assume that those franchises can't be too far off, along with Riot's fighting game debut, Project L. We know next to nothing about Project L, but it'll definitely bring some new eyes to the genre. Whether the game is any good or not, only time will tell. Let's get back to PlayStation, shall we? PlayStation has been showing fighting games a lot of love over the past year. They hold multiple tournaments on their official Twitch every week for games such as Mortal Kombat 11 and Guilty Gear Strive. And it's not just major mainstream games either. Both BB Tag and Under Night In-Birth get the big PlayStation stage as well. They post beginner guides on their official YouTube channel along with character-specific guides too. This gives commentators jobs and competitors prize money to shoot for every single week. It's really a great thing to see from a major publisher. And speaking of tournaments, remember when I mentioned EVO earlier? The biggest fighting game tournament in the world? Yeah, Sony bought EVO in 2021. If that doesn't show a major interest in fighting games, I don't really know what else would. Of course, I'd be remiss if I make a video about fighting games in 2021 and forget to mention rollback netcode. COVID-19 could have been a huge blow to the FGC. Local tournaments and huge in-person tournaments like Combo Breaker are the heart and soul of the FGC. Fighting games have historically bad online play, and that is a huge deterrent to some people. The vast majority of games played today are online, and if I press the punch button and it takes half a second for that punch to come out, I'm not going to play your game. Local tournaments kept these games alive. With COVID wiping that out over a year, it could have spelled disaster for the genre. Rollback netcode isn't new technology by any means, but it's tech that for some reason wasn't a big priority for major game publishers. NetherRealm Studios famously added rollback to Mortal Kombat X a year after its release, and I'll never forget my first online match with that new netcode. It's literally a game changer. Now, rollback might be the buzziest buzzword in all of fighting games. It's very common to see comments like no rollback, no buy in any fighting game announcement trailer. Now that players can play these games online and enjoy them to the fullest, it's finally time for Sony to dive in head first. What does all this have to do with PlayStation? Well, money, of course. Sony is a business and they are in the business of making money. If PS All-Stars Battle Royale totally blew up and made mountains of money, we probably would have had 3 sequels by now. They didn't follow up on the first game because it wasn't worth it to them. Will they come back to that well now? I don't think so. I propose they take a different route. a one-on-one 2D fighting game. As I've stated, we're in a boom period right now and it only looks brighter in the future. PlayStation has a clear interest in fighting games, so why not make one of their own? They have the roster, the talent, and the money to do so. Speaking of talent, that is the one aspect of this where I don't have an answer. For PlayStation All-Stars, they created a new studio called Superbot and brought in new people to create a studio specific for that game. As far as I know, none of PlayStation's current studios have any 1v1 fighting game experience. Do they license it out to a known developer like Arc System Works or renew their relationship with Capcom? I really don't know. ArcSys seems to be the best answer as their games are fantastically made, are absolutely gorgeous, and they are willing to work on other franchises such as Grand Blue or Dungeon Fighter Online. However, they just released Strive, they're working on DNF Duel and possibly Dragon Ball FighterZ 2, so they might not be available. Whoever they decide to hire, I think it would be best for them to make a hardcore fighting game. Of course, I'm sure there would be some mainstream appeal mechanics in there, but at its core, there is no reason to water down a game of this magnitude. With the right names, fighting games have been proven sellers, with Mortal Kombat, Dragon Ball, Street Fighter, and Tekken all selling millions upon millions of copies. Packing the game with single-player content, fun cosmetics, a robust training mode, great online play, and a roster of the ages, I can see this game doing great numbers for Sony. Is it going to do gangbusters like The Last of Us or God of War? That's highly unlikely, but not every game has to. They have the funds to make a well-designed, fun game that might not make all of the money, but just some of the money. Given the massive roster potential and to really push the idea of the crossover, they may need to go to the tag route and make a 2v2 or a 3v3 game, but just for my own selfish reasons, I'd much prefer sticking to 1v1. I'd still welcome a tag fighter, I just wouldn't really prefer it. Sony really knows how to push their first-party exclusives, and seeing this game on a big stage, such as E3 2022, or maybe a returning PlayStation experience would give it a big game feel. The thought of Kratos fighting Spider-Man or Nathan Drake versus Joel would just be too exciting to pass up for a lot of people. Not to mention Sony's extensive relationship with third-party publishers. I know the same thing was said about the last game, but hopefully they can learn from their mistakes and make this game more about who is in the game rather than who isn't. The mainstream appeal would already be there with the characters in the game, but Sony would have to win over the FGC to show that they are serious with this one. They could reveal characters at tournaments and continue to support the genre by holding tournaments on their own Twitch channel, along with giving it the massive EVO stage that year. A game only lasts as long as its hardcore fan base plays it. If you make them happy, your game could live a long life and you'll have a brand new franchise on your hands. The FGC has seen a major rise in content creators over the past couple of years, and getting the game in their hands would create goodwill with them and their loyal audiences, assuming the game is good, of course. This new rollback boom has shown that fighting game fans are willing to give multiple games a try, no matter how big or small. If these influencers are talking about it or playing it, a large number of people will follow. All I ask is for major events to have Yipes commentate the game.
So here we go. Oh, that was so loud. Talk to me. That was music to my earlobes. The people. Okay, here we go. Bandana for the family. Bardock, the lineage.
And finally, I know this is a pipe dream, but bringing the game to PC and giving it crossplay would be the nice cherry on top for this personal dream scenario. Please, Sony, make it happen. What kind of game would you like to see from a Sony All-Stars perspective? Please let me know in the comments, let me know what kind of roster you'd want to see, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos similar to this one.